13 Women. This is a pre-code thriller, but with a title like that, it could have been a comedy about what I was doing in high school. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at 13 Women from 1932. This film is considered by some to be cinema's very first slasher. And while it does have a number of elements which will later show up in slasher films, I don't think it qualifies. Sure, like slasher films, this film is structured around killing, and the killings are rather inventive, and most of the victims are women, and there's even a final girl, but despite all of that, this is still more of a psychological thriller because the killer here doesn't actually slash anybody. Which I think is disqualifying. I'm a stickler for details. But it's still very cool and was certainly an influence on some films that would come many, many years later, so let's check it out. After the credits, a card tells us that suggestion can lead to certain crimes. Yeah, I'm sure that'll be important. And then we're on a train, and we can tell we're in America because this postman has a gun. Going postal doesn't mean delivering the mail on time, after all. June, a circus performer, gets her mail, which is a horoscope telling her that someone close to her will die through an act of hers. Signed, Swami Yogadachi. I might have pronounced that wrong, and I definitely don't care.
I can't believe you, Rob.
June gets some visitors, including an old friend. They were both part of a round-robin letter circle a few years back, which sent letters for a horoscope. June is nervous about her upcoming performance, but decides to go out anyway. And it looks like she was right to be nervous because a stunt fails. Pretty cool effect for 1932. So the horoscope was right. We then hop over to the writer of that horoscope. But the Swami says the horoscope he wrote for June predicted great news. But then there was that accident that killed her sister and caused June to go insane, so he's worried he's lost the gift. And because he's worried that he no longer thinks he can divine the future from the stars, he's hesitant to send out this current horoscope that he has written. But what should be immediately odd to us is that's not the horoscope that June got. She didn't get a positive horoscope at all. She got a negative one. Something is afoot. His assistant, the lovely Myrna Loy, insists he send this new horoscope. It's another one for one of the girls who wrote the round-robin letters. There were 12 of them in all. And this assistant seems to have some sort of power over the Swami. Probably because she's hot. Hot chicks have power.
I think he's got a point.
She puts him to sleep. See? Powers. And then she tears up the horoscope. She pulls out a new, bad horoscope, and then opens a book which contains the members of the Kappa sorority. She crosses off the two sisters. I guess she's already Kappa'd them. So stupid. Hazel is next. And she kills her husband and is sent to prison. Apparently her character was having an affair with a woman, and this led to her murdering her husband. But even in the pre-code times, that storyline was a little bit too much for the public to handle, which is cut out. Even sadder, this is her only film role. By all accounts, she was an excellent stage performer in New York, and she had moved out to LA to try to jumpstart a career in Hollywood, and it wasn't working out. 2 days after this film was released, she climbed the H in the Hollywoodland sign and leaped to her death, which is more than really sad. Back to the movie. Another woman, Laura, calls up Helen. She tells her all these misfortunes are a coincidence and they have to disregard what's in these horoscopes. Laura is a reasonable type and she doesn't believe in magic. She says she's going to put a stop to all of this. Laura asks Helen to come visit. Some of the other Kappa girls will be coming around as well. The Swami then sends them a letter saying that he has also predicted his own death. And he's right. And this is another pretty cool effect for 1932. But apparently the newspapers back then didn't even try to have cool headlines. Swami is suicide in New York City. Boring. How about this? Swami subway suicide shocks spectators. But predicting his own death further convinces some of the Kappa girls that these horoscopes should be taken seriously. But we, the audience, can see that again, it seems that assistant is somehow responsible. On a train, Helen meets that assistant, Ursula. Apparently they went to school together, so maybe this is some sort of revenge plot. They talk about the Swami, and Helen insists that she has no intention of killing herself, but that night, while Ursula stands outside her door, The old Kappa girls meet up at Laura's place for that reunion dinner. But Grace goes on and on about the veracity of the horoscopes, and the other ladies tell her to buzz off with that nonsense. But before long, Laura starts to worry about these horoscopes because her horoscope targeted her son. She might not believe in magic, but if there's a human behind these things, that's something to worry about. And that's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. Well, I've already mentioned some of the things I like about this movie. I mean, there's some really cool effects for 1932. Oh, and I didn't mention it, but there's an impressive car chase scene near the end of the film. So, on a technical side, this film is... Beyond that, this film goes to some pretty interesting places. I don't want to spoil anything, but this is a revenge film, and the nature of that revenge is pretty interesting, especially for 1932. Finally, I have to praise the cast. Especially Myrna Loy. She just dominates every scene she's in with that fierce gaze of hers.
That chick was fucking bananas hot.
Some people complain that this role is problematic because she plays a mixed-race character, even though she wasn't mixed-race, and if that sounds like something that will offend you, what the hell are you doing on my channel? Go away. Go be insufferable somewhere else. Anyway, despite everything I've said, and despite the fact I am a big fan of this movie, I don't think the film is perfect. Like a chauffeur driving his mistress wild, this film has some shortcomings. Well, this film was originally 73 minutes long and was cut down to 59 minutes for its theatrical release. And that's really too bad. We lost 2 women. The film is called 13 Women, but there are only 11 in this movie. It would have been nice to see how they ended up. And we lost that whole lesbian affair plot, which is really unfortunate. I mean, can you imagine this film's reputation if that had survived? What a loss. So, the movie feels a little bit choppy and is too short. Technically, this shouldn't even count as a feature film because it doesn't hit the 60-minute mark. But what's nevertheless impressive is what this film does with 59 minutes. It does more than a lot of films do with much longer runtimes. Pretty cool. So you should definitely track it down and watch it. I shouldn't have to tell you this, but it is fun to spend time with 13 women.